"You won't last a minute, human," the alien princess boasted. She had no idea who she'd confronted. Sci-fi. In the middle of this quiet space, a human warship drifted, small yet proud, its metal hull gleaming under the light of the twin suns. Inside, the crew moved with careful precision, preparing for a confrontation that seemed impossible. Captain Ethan Blake stood on the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back. His dark hair fell into his eyes, but he didn't mind. He was calm, as if the universe itself had nothing to worry him. Beside him, his tactical officer, Luke Carter, studied a holographic display of the alien planet below. The surface was jagged, with mountains that seemed to touch the sky and valleys filled with swirling mist. "Captain," Luke said, his voice tense, "the alien fleet is larger than we expected. Estimates say over 300 ships, and their ground forces are even more dangerous. This princess of theirs, she's no ordinary commander. She's feared across 3 systems." Ethan nodded slowly. "I know, Luke, but fear won't win this battle. We'll do what humans do best. We'll adapt and we'll survive." Mia Harper, the ship's engineer, looked up from her console. Her hands were steady as she adjusted the ship's energy distribution. "Our shields are holding, but if they focus their fire, we could take heavy damage. I can reroute power to the weapons and engines, but it won't last long. We need a plan that doesn't just rely on firepower." Ethan turned to her. "Mia, do it, but keep thinking. Find every edge we can, every weakness. That's how humans win against odds like this." The warship began to descend toward the planet. The atmosphere shimmered as it pierced through the clouds. Down below, the alien princess, Selara, was already waiting. She stood tall on a cliff overlooking the valley where the humans would land. Her armor was silver and gold, glinting in the sunlight. She was beautiful, terrifying, and full of pride. Her long hair moved like liquid fire in the wind, and her eyes glowed faintly, a sign of her alien energy. "Humans," she said, her voice sharp and clear even from a distance. "You won't last a minute on my world. Your technology is primitive. Your soldiers are weak. Step forward and I will show you the meaning of defeat." Her warriors, all equally well-armed and clad in strange, shining armor, readied themselves behind her. Some held long blades that hummed with energy. Others carried weapons that glowed with blue light. Selara's reputation had traveled across the stars, and it was said she had never been defeated in battle. Ethan's warship landed softly on a plateau near the edge of the valley. The ground shook lightly as the massive engines touched down. The crew prepared to leave the ship. Ethan took a deep breath and stepped forward first. He adjusted his uniform and looked at the alien princess. "Princess Selara," he said calmly, "we are humans. We adapt, we survive, and we fight when we must. I don't expect you to understand that yet, but you will see soon enough." Selara's eyes narrowed. She laughed, a sound that carried over the winds. "You talk a lot for someone who is about to die." She lifted her hand, and her warriors spread out behind her, forming a line. "Do you really believe your fragile bodies and old machines can survive me?" Ethan didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked around at his crew. Luke and Mia were already scanning the area for tactical advantages. Other crew members readied their small arms, sensors, and support equipment. Humans were not as strong as aliens, but they had ingenuity. They had teamwork. They had courage. Selara made the first move. She leaped from the cliff with a speed that seemed impossible, landing lightly in front of Ethan. Her blade hummed with energy as she swung it, aiming for his head. Ethan stepped back just in time, rolling to the side. The blade cut a groove into the stone where he had stood moments before. "Impressive reflexes," Selara said with a smirk. "But one human cannot win against me." Ethan drew his own weapon, a combination of plasma and kinetic energy. It was small but efficient. He moved quickly, not just dodging her attacks but watching her carefully. Every movement she made, every swing of her weapon, revealed patterns. She was fast, but she was predictable. Humans had studied patterns for centuries, and this was no different. He struck once, testing her defenses. She deflected it with ease, but he noticed the slight hesitation in her left arm, a small opening just enough. He pulled back and waited. Meanwhile, Luke found a vantage point on a nearby ridge. Using his portable sensors, he analyzed the alien warriors. "Captain, their shields are strong but not uniform. There's a rhythm to their energy flow. If we time our attacks, we can exploit it." Mia adjusted the ship's energy systems. "I can boost our weapons temporarily, but only for a few minutes. We'll have to hit hard and fast." Ethan nodded. He signaled to his team. "Stay calm, don't rush, wait for the moment. Humans don't fight with strength alone, we fight with strategy." Selara was already circling him, her eyes glowing brighter. "I expected more fear," she said. "But humans are stubborn, I'll give you that. It won't save you." The first clash was brief but intense. Ethan dodged, parried, and countered, using his speed and cleverness. Selara struck with force, but each time Ethan learned her rhythm. He wasn't trying to win yet. He was testing, learning, preparing. "Your skills are better than I thought," Selara admitted after a pause. "But skill alone won't help you when I bring the rest of my warriors into this fight." Ethan didn't flinch. "I know, but humans don't fight alone. We use our minds, our teamwork, and our courage. That's something you've never faced." From the cliff edges, other alien warriors began to move, preparing to surround the humans. Their weapons glowed and their movements were precise, but Ethan's crew had already anticipated it. Luke activated a series of small energy barriers that deflected some of the incoming attacks. Mia hacked into nearby alien drones, turning a few of them against their own side. Selara's eyes widened in surprise. "Tricks? You dare use tricks against me?" Ethan smiled faintly. "Humans call it intelligence." Selara realized something important at that moment. These humans, small and seemingly fragile, were not like any opponents she had faced before. Their courage and teamwork made them unpredictable. Her first assumption, that they would crumble instantly, was wrong. She had underestimated them. The humans retreated strategically, drawing Selara and her warriors into a narrow valley. Rocks and cliffs limited the aliens' movement, giving the humans room to maneuver. Ethan led them carefully, using every natural feature to their advantage. Selara followed, growing frustrated. "Why do they move like this? They are clever, but clever won't save them." Ethan glanced back at her. "Sometimes cleverness is all you need." As the day continued, small skirmishes broke out. Ethan's team used hit-and-run tactics, exploiting weak points in the alien formations. Selara's warriors were strong, but they were unprepared for humans who fought differently. Every human move was calculated, every decision purposeful. By the end of the first day, Selara stood on a ridge, watching the humans regroup in the valley. She was tired not from the fight itself, but from the strain of facing opponents who refused to follow the expected patterns. Humans were strange, she thought. They didn't fear, they didn't retreat, and they didn't give up. Ethan, meanwhile, checked on his team. "Good work today," he said quietly. "We survived the first clash, that's all we needed. Tomorrow we learn more about them. We plan, we adapt, and we keep fighting. Humans always do." Mia smiled. "I didn't think we could hold our own against her today, but we did." "Just barely, but we did." Luke shook his head in disbelief. "I've studied alien battles all my life. I've never seen humans survive like this. They're amazing." Ethan looked up at the sky, thinking about the days ahead. This is just the beginning. They may have strength, speed, and power, but we have something stronger. We have each other, and that is why they will never truly defeat us. Selara, on her ridge above, clenched her fists. She had met humans before, but never like this. Never ones who fought with brains and heart together. She would have to reconsider everything. And deep down, a small voice told her, this human captain was different, dangerous. The night fell over the valley, stars scattered across the dark sky. Both sides prepared for what would come tomorrow. The battle was far from over, but one thing was clear: the humans were not afraid, and that alone was enough to change everything. The sun rose slowly over the jagged mountains of the Leora system. The valley where the humans had taken their positions was still quiet, but tension hung in the air like electricity. Captain Ethan Blake stood at the edge of a cliff, looking at the alien forces gathering below. Their armor shimmered under the morning light, and their weapons glowed faintly with energy. He could feel the power of the alien princess, Selara, radiating across the valley. Luke Carter approached, carrying a small tablet that displayed the alien movements. "Captain, they've reorganized overnight. Selara is bringing in reinforcements. It looks like she plans a full attack this morning." Ethan nodded slowly. "Then we'll be ready. Humans have survived worse. We adapt and fight. That's what makes us strong." Mia Harper adjusted the controls on her small, portable energy device. "Our shields are holding, but they won't last long if they hit us together. We'll need to use the terrain and our weapons wisely. One mistake could cost us everything." Ethan looked at his team. "We won't make mistakes. We'll move carefully, watch each other's backs, and strike only when the time is right. Remember, humans have brains, not just strength. That's our advantage." Below them, Selara stood tall among her warriors. Her eyes glowed bright with energy, and her silver-gold armor reflected the sunlight. She watched the humans like a predator sizing up prey. She had never faced opponents like this before. Most species crumbled at the sight of her army. But these humans, they were different. "They are clever," Selara said softly to herself. "Clever, stubborn, and fearless. That makes them dangerous." She lifted her hand, and her warriors spread out across the valley. Each step they took was precise, each movement calculated. Their weapons hummed with power, ready to strike. The ground seemed to shake slightly with the force of their presence. Ethan signaled to his team, "Spread out. Use the rocks and ridges for cover. Keep your eyes open. Watch for their patterns." The humans moved quietly, carefully placing themselves in positions where they could defend and attack. Small energy barriers blinked into place, and drones floated above the valley, scanning for weak points. Humans were not as strong as Selara's warriors, but they were smart. Every step they took had a reason, every action a purpose. Selara leaped down from her high position, landing in front of the humans with incredible speed. Her sword hummed with energy, slicing the air as she attacked. Ethan met her strike, blocking it with his own weapon. Sparks flew where the two blades met. "You are brave, human," Selara said, swinging again. "But bravery will not save you." Ethan moved quickly, ducking and rolling. Bravery alone never wins battles, strategy does. The humans began to fight in small groups, using hit-and-run tactics. They aimed for the weak points in the alien formation, striking quickly and retreating before the aliens could respond. Luke fired a small energy launcher, knocking a group of warriors off balance. Mia hacked into the alien drones, causing them to turn on their own army for a few moments. Selara's eyes widened in surprise. "Tricks," she shouted. "You use tricks against me." Ethan smiled faintly. "Humans call it thinking." The battle continued across the valley. The aliens were strong and fast, but the humans were clever. They used the cliffs, the rocks, and even the mist in the valleys to hide and attack from unexpected directions. Each small victory built their confidence. Each clever move made Selara rethink her strategy. "Why do they move like this?" Selara asked her commanders. "They are humans, they are weak, yet they fight like predators. They do not fear, they do not run, and they do not break. How can this be?" Her commanders were silent. They had never seen such courage or such cunning. Selara's pride would not allow her to admit it yet, but inside, a seed of doubt began to grow. Ethan paused for a moment on a ridge, looking at Selara. "We are not here to fight alone," he said quietly. "We fight together. That is why we survive." He signaled to Luke and Mia. They activated small energy pulses that disrupted the alien formations, causing confusion. Warriors stumbled. Their attacks became uncoordinated, and the humans used the moment to strike hard. Selara roared in frustration. She leaped into the air, moving faster than anyone could follow. She landed among her warriors, spinning and striking in every direction. But the humans had already learned her pattern. Ethan dodged each attack, using small movements to avoid the swings of her sword. "You are clever," Selara admitted, her voice loud and sharp. "But cleverness alone cannot win." Ethan didn't answer with words. He moved with precision, striking at a small gap in her armor. She deflected the attack, but only just. The humans had found an opening, a weakness in her rhythm. The battle raged for hours. The valley was filled with flashes of light, the hum of energy weapons, and the sounds of metal clashing. Dust and mist swirled around the fighters, hiding their movements and making the battle even more dangerous. Mia shouted from her position, "Captain, we can hold them off for now, but Selara is learning. She's adjusting to our tactics." Ethan nodded. "Then we change our tactics again. Humans adapt, remember." He turned to Luke. "Use the drones to create distractions. Make them split their focus. That will give us an advantage." Luke quickly programmed the drones to hover above the battlefield, creating small explosions and flashes of light. Selara's warriors were forced to divide their attention, unsure where the next attack would come from. The humans used this moment to strike at multiple weak points simultaneously. Selara felt her anger rising. These humans were not supposed to survive. They were not supposed to resist her power. Yet, they fought with intelligence and courage that surprised her. She had underestimated them, and now the consequences were clear. "You are not like the others," she admitted, her voice low. "You are dangerous." Ethan heard her words but did not respond. He focused on the battle, moving from position to position, striking and retreating. His team followed him, coordinated and precise. They were a small group, but together they were stronger than their size suggested. As the day wore on, the humans managed to hold their ground. They were tired, their weapons were heating up, and their bodies ached from constant movement. But they had survived the first major clash. More importantly, they had shown Selara that humans were not easily defeated. Selara retreated to a high ridge, her armor scratched and dented. She looked at the humans below, and for the first time she felt doubt. They were clever, they were brave, and they fought in ways she had never imagined. She had underestimated them, and it could have cost her the battle. Ethan gathered his team. "We survived the first clash. That's all that matters today. Tomorrow, we learn more about them and we plan our next move. Remember, humans are strongest when we think, when we adapt, and when we fight together." Mia nodded, wiping sweat from her brow. "I didn't think we could last this long, but we did. That gives me hope." Luke smiled, still amazed. "I've studied alien tactics all my life. I've never seen humans fight like this. They are amazing." Ethan looked up at the ridge where Selara stood. "She is strong, faster and stronger than most we have faced, but she does not understand us yet. That is our advantage. She thinks power alone wins battles. She will learn that humans survive in ways she cannot imagine." Night fell over the valley, and the stars shone brightly in the sky. Both sides retreated to their positions, preparing for the next day. The humans cleaned their weapons, checked their equipment, and tended to their minor injuries. The aliens gathered around Selara, awaiting her orders. Selara stood silently, staring at the humans below. Pride and frustration warred inside her. She had never been challenged like this before. She had never faced opponents who used intelligence and strategy with such skill. "They are humans," she whispered, "and they are dangerous, more dangerous than I thought." Ethan lay on the rocky ground for a moment, looking at the stars. He thought about what lay ahead. The battle was far from over. Selara was strong, and her warriors were relentless. But the humans had something she did not fully understand: courage, teamwork, and the ability to adapt. And that, Ethan knew, would be enough to change the course of the battle. The next morning, the valley was quiet. Mist clung to the jagged rocks, and the air smelled faintly of burning metal from the previous day's battle. Captain Ethan Blake stood on a ridge, looking down at the alien forces preparing for another attack. Their armor still gleamed, their weapons humming with energy, but there was a difference in their movements. They were cautious, almost hesitant. Luke Carter joined him, holding a small device that displayed the alien positions. "Captain, they are reorganizing differently today. Selara is changing her strategy. She's keeping some warriors back while sending others forward. It looks like she's testing us." Ethan nodded. "Good, testing is what we need. Every move they make tells us something. Watch carefully. Every pattern they repeat, every hesitation they show is a clue." Mia Harper adjusted the portable energy boosters. "Our weapons are ready, but our shields can only hold for so long. We'll need to strike smart, not just fast." Ethan smiled faintly. "Exactly. Humans are strongest when we plan, adapt, and act together. That is our advantage." Below them, Selara stood on a cliff, her silver-gold armor shining in the early sunlight. Her eyes glowed faintly, reflecting both anger and curiosity. She had never faced opponents like these humans before. Their bravery, intelligence, and teamwork had surprised her. They were not strong like her warriors, but they were clever, and cleverness was dangerous. "They are more than I expected," she said quietly. "Clever, stubborn, and fearless, they fight like predators. I cannot let them continue like this." She signaled to her warriors. This time they moved in smaller groups, using the terrain to their advantage. They tried to flank the humans, moving quietly and swiftly. But the humans had anticipated this. Ethan watched as the aliens spread out. "They are trying to surround us. That is their mistake. Humans fight best when we know our limits and use the environment. Luke, activate the sensors to track their movement." Luke tapped his device and small holographic markers appeared, showing the positions of Selara's warriors. "Captain, we can predict their path. They are splitting into 3 groups, moving from the east, west, and center. We can handle this if we stay coordinated." Mia smiled. "I can boost the weapons for a short time. If we hit their center hard, we can force them back." Ethan nodded. "Do it. Everyone stay calm. Watch each other. Move when we need to and strike when the moment is right. That is how humans win." The first group of aliens advanced from the east. They moved quickly, their energy blades glowing, ready to strike. Ethan and his team waited, using the rocks and ridges for cover. When the aliens were within range, Luke fired a small energy pulse, knocking 2 of them off balance. Mia hacked a drone nearby, turning it against the aliens for a brief distraction. Ethan moved forward, striking at a warrior who had broken formation. His movements were precise and calculated. He did not try to overpower them. Instead, he aimed for weak spots, small gaps in the armor, places where a skilled human could make a difference. Selara watched from above, her eyes narrowing. "Clever humans," she muttered. "They are adapting faster than I expected. But speed and cunning alone will not win. I will show them strength." She leaped into the valley, moving faster than any human could follow. Her sword swung in arcs of energy, cutting through rocks and forcing the humans to move carefully. But Ethan had already studied her movements. He dodged each strike, countering when he saw a small opening. "Captain," Luke shouted, "another group is coming from the west." "They're trying to hit our flank." Ethan glanced quickly at the west. "We expected that. Humans fight as one. Mia, use the energy pulse to block their advance. Luke, mark the weak points. Everyone else, stay ready." Mia activated the energy pulse, creating a barrier that slowed the aliens' approach. Luke highlighted weak spots on the device, and Ethan led his team in a coordinated strike. The humans moved as a single unit, striking fast and retreating when needed. The aliens stumbled, unprepared for such teamwork. Selara's warriors began to falter. They had expected humans to run or fight recklessly. Instead, these humans fought with careful precision, using strategy and coordination. Every strike they made, every move they took seemed to anticipate the aliens' next steps. Solara's eyes widened. "Impossible," she whispered. "Humans cannot fight like this. They are too smart, too quick. How can this be?" Ethan noticed the change in her demeanor. He realized she was beginning to respect them, even if she would never admit it. He used this to his advantage. "We are not here to fight alone," he said quietly to his team. "We fight together. That is why we survive." The humans pressed their attack, forcing the aliens back toward the center of the valley. Small skirmishes broke out, with humans using hit-and-run tactics, small energy pulses, and clever traps. The aliens were strong, but the humans were unpredictable. Every time the aliens thought they had an advantage, the humans shifted their strategy. Solara roared in frustration. She had never faced opponents who could move, think, and fight in such unison. She leaped again, striking at Ethan directly. Their swords clashed, sparks flying with each impact. Ethan moved carefully, dodging and blocking, watching her patterns. "You are clever," Solara admitted, her voice low but sharp. "But cleverness alone cannot win." Ethan smiled faintly. "Humans survive because we do more than fight. We think, we plan, and we adapt. That is our strength." The battle continued for hours. Mist rose from the valley floor, mixing with dust and smoke from energy blasts. The humans used every advantage the terrain offered, hiding behind rocks, leaping from cliffs, and using the mist to confuse the aliens. Each time the aliens tried to corner them, the humans shifted, countered, and struck back. Mia shouted from a ridge. "Captain, we can push them back further if we use the cliffs. We can make them fall into the narrow valley." Ethan nodded. "Do it. Everyone follow my lead. Move carefully, strike hard, and don't stop." The humans led Solara's forces into a narrow part of the valley, where the cliffs on both sides limited movement. The aliens tried to fight, but the humans controlled the space. Energy pulses, clever traps, and coordinated attacks forced the aliens back. Small groups of warriors were knocked off balance or trapped against the cliffs. Solara watched from above, fury and admiration battling inside her. "These humans, they are not like any others. They are dangerous. I must change my plan." Ethan saw her hesitation. He knew they were gaining an advantage, not through brute force but through strategy and teamwork. "Keep moving," he said to his team. "Stay together. This is our moment." The humans pressed forward, striking with precision. Luke fired small energy blasts to keep the aliens off balance. Mia hacked a drone to create distractions, causing confusion. Ethan led the final strike against the group in the valley, using a small but powerful pulse weapon to disable their energy shields temporarily. The aliens fell back, disorganized and surprised. Solara landed in the middle of the chaos, her chest rising and falling rapidly. She looked at Ethan directly. "You are different," she said, her voice almost a whisper. "I did not expect this from humans. You are clever, strong, and brave, but this is not over. I will adapt, and next time you will not be so lucky." Ethan looked at her calmly. "We will adapt too. Humans survive by learning, by planning, and by standing together. That is why we are still here. That is why we will survive." The humans regrouped on a small plateau, catching their breath. Their weapons were hot, their bodies tired, but their spirits were high. They had survived the second clash and for the first time pushed Solara's forces back. Mia smiled, her face streaked with dust. "I can't believe it, we actually did it, we forced them back." Luke shook his head, still amazed. "I've never seen humans fight like this. They are incredible." Ethan looked at the valley below, where Solara and her warriors were regrouping. He knew this battle was far from over. She would come back stronger, faster, and more determined. But he also knew something important. Humans could survive even against the strongest enemies because they thought, adapted, and fought together. Solara watched from a ridge above, her pride wounded but her mind racing. She had underestimated these humans and she would not make the same mistake again. "They are clever, too clever," she said. "I must learn more about them. I must understand their strength. Only then can I defeat them. The sun set over the valley, casting long shadows across the battlefield. Both sides retreated to rest, repair, and plan. The humans cleaned their weapons, tended to minor injuries, and checked their energy systems. They were tired but ready for whatever came next. Ethan looked at his team, pride shining in his eyes. We survived again. We showed them that humans do not give up even when the odds are against us. Tomorrow we learn more and we fight smarter. That is how humans win. Solara stood on her ridge, staring at the humans below. She had never met opponents like this before. They were clever, brave, and adaptable. She had underestimated them and it had cost her, but she would not make the same mistake again. The next battle would be different. And in that moment, both sides understood something important. The humans were not just surviving. They were learning, growing, and proving that courage, intelligence, and teamwork could match even the greatest strength in the galaxy. The next morning, the valley was quiet, but it was a tense calm. Mist curled around the rocks, and the air smelled of scorched earth from the previous battles. Captain Ethan Blake stood on a ridge, looking down at Solara's forces. She had regrouped, but there was something different in her movements. Her warriors were no longer reckless. They were careful, precise, and more coordinated. Luke Carter joined Ethan, holding a small tablet that displayed the alien positions. Captain, Solara has changed her strategy again. She's keeping her strongest warriors in the center and sending smaller groups to test our flanks. She's learning from yesterday. Ethan nodded. Good. That means we have a chance to outthink her. Humans survive not by strength alone, but by thinking, planning, and adapting. That's our advantage. Mia Harper adjusted her portable energy booster. We can use the cliffs and rocks to control their movement. If we time it right, we can force them into positions where their numbers won't help them. Ethan smiled. Exactly. Let's make them fight on our terms. Below them, Solara stood tall, her silver-gold armor catching the sunlight. Her sword hummed with energy as she studied the humans. She had expected them to break after the first clash, then falter the next day. But they had not. They had survived, adapted, and even forced her warriors back. They are not like any humans I have faced before, she said quietly to herself. They are clever, coordinated, and brave. They will not be easy to defeat. She signaled to her commanders, and her warriors spread out across the valley. Small groups moved toward the humans from the east and west, while her strongest fighters held the center. Her plan was to lure the humans into a trap, overwhelm them with numbers, and crush them once and for all. Ethan studied the valley carefully. They're trying to trap us again, he said. But this time we'll turn the trap against them. Luke, mark their weak points. Mia, get the energy systems ready. Everyone else, stay alert and watch each other's backs. The humans moved quietly, positioning themselves behind rocks, cliffs, and ridges. They were small in number, but they were organized and focused. Every action had a purpose, every movement was calculated. They were ready to turn the valley into a battlefield that favored them, not the aliens. The first group of alien warriors moved from the east, weapons humming with energy. Ethan signaled to Luke. Now. Use the pulse system to block their advance. Luke activated a small energy pulse that created a barrier, slowing the aliens' movement. The humans struck quickly, targeting weak points and using hit-and-run tactics. The aliens were strong, but they were not expecting humans to fight with such strategy and coordination. Solara's eyes narrowed. They are adapting faster than I thought, she said. But numbers alone should be enough. I will show them true power. She leaped into the valley, moving faster than any human could follow. Her sword swung in powerful arcs, cutting through the air and forcing the humans to move carefully. Ethan met her strike, blocking it with his weapon. Sparks flew where their weapons met, lighting up the misty valley. You are clever, Solara said, spinning and striking again. But cleverness alone cannot win. Ethan moved swiftly, dodging and countering. Humans survive because we fight together, think carefully, and adapt quickly. That is our strength. Meanwhile, small groups of humans use the terrain to their advantage. Luke fired energy pulses to distract the aliens, while Mia hacked drones to create confusion. The humans moved as a single unit, striking fast and retreating when necessary. Their teamwork was precise, and their strategy began to force the aliens back. Solara watched from above, frustration and admiration battling inside her. These humans were different from any opponents she had faced. They were small and fragile, but their minds and courage made them dangerous. They fight with more than strength, she admitted. They fight with brains, with strategy. They are impressive. The aliens advanced again, trying to overwhelm the humans with numbers. But Ethan had anticipated this. He signaled to his team to fall back to a narrow part of the valley. The cliffs on both sides limited the aliens' movement, forcing them into a confined space where their numbers would not help. "Move carefully," Ethan said. "Use the terrain. Watch each other. Strike when the moment is right." The humans led the aliens into the narrow valley, where rocks and cliffs created natural obstacles. Small energy barriers slowed the alien advance, while drones created distractions. Ethan and his team struck at weak points in the enemy lines, using precise attacks to knock warriors off balance. Solara was shocked. She had expected the humans to break under pressure, but they had turned the trap against her. Her warriors were being pushed back, not by strength alone, but by clever tactics and coordination. "You are dangerous," she admitted, her voice low. "More dangerous than I thought." Ethan pressed the advantage. He led his team in a coordinated attack, hitting the center of Solara's forces with a powerful energy pulse. The aliens faltered, their formation breaking apart. Small groups were isolated, and the humans moved quickly to take control. Mia shouted from a ridge. "Captain, we can push them further. Use the cliffs to trap the rest." Ethan nodded. "Do it. Everyone follow my lead. Stay together, strike hard, and don't stop." The humans pressed forward, forcing the aliens toward the narrowest part of the valley. The cliffs on both sides limited the aliens' movement, making it difficult for them to coordinate. Energy pulses, small traps, and hit-and-run attacks kept the aliens off balance. Solara leaped into the middle of the battle, her sword swinging in powerful arcs. But Ethan had learned her pattern. He dodged each strike, countering when he saw an opening. Slowly, he began to force her back. "You are clever," Solara said, frustration in her voice. "But cleverness will not win," Ethan smiled. "Humans survive because we adapt, we plan, and we fight together. That is why we are still here. That is why we will survive." The battle raged for hours. Dust and mist mixed with sparks and energy pulses, creating a chaotic but controlled battlefield. The humans used every advantage the terrain offered, hiding behind rocks, leaping from cliffs, and using the mist to confuse the aliens. Each time the aliens thought they had an advantage, the humans shifted, countered, and struck back. Solara's warriors began to falter. They had expected the humans to run or fight recklessly. Instead, the humans fought with intelligence and coordination. Every move they made, every strike they took, seemed to anticipate the aliens' next steps. Solara's pride was wounded, but she could not deny the humans' skill. "They are not like the others," she said quietly. "They are clever, strong, and brave. I must respect their abilities, but I will not let them win." Ethan saw her hesitation. He knew the battle was turning in their favor, not through brute force, but through strategy and teamwork. "Keep moving," he said to his team. "Stay together. This is our moment." The humans pressed their advantage, forcing the aliens back toward the center of the valley. Small groups were knocked off balance, isolated, or trapped against the cliffs. Solara tried to rally her warriors, but the humans' coordination was too strong. Finally, after hours of fighting, Solara called her warriors back. She landed on a ridge above the valley, her chest rising and falling with exertion. She looked at Ethan directly. "You are different," she said. "I underestimated humans. You are clever, brave, and coordinated. You have survived where others would have fallen. But this is not over. I will return stronger, and next time you will not be so lucky." Ethan looked at her calmly. "We will adapt too. Humans survive by thinking, planning, and standing together. That is why we are still here. That is why we will survive." The humans regrouped on a plateau, cleaning their weapons, tending to minor injuries, and checking their energy systems. They were tired, their bodies aching from hours of battle, but their spirits were high. They had survived another day, and they had shown Selara that humans were a force to be reckoned with. Mia smiled. "I can't believe it. We actually did it. We forced them back not just once but twice." Luke shook his head, still amazed. "I've never seen humans fight like this. They are incredible." Ethan looked at the valley below, where Selara and her warriors were regrouping. He knew the battle was far from over. She would return stronger, faster, and more determined. But he also knew something important. Humans could survive, even against the strongest enemies, because they thought, adapted, and fought together. Selara stood on her ridge, staring at the humans below. Pride and respect warred inside her. She had underestimated them, and it had cost her. But she would not make the same mistake again. The next battle would be different. And in that moment, both sides understood something important. The humans were not just surviving. They were learning, growing, and proving that courage, intelligence, and teamwork could match even the greatest strength in the galaxy. The sun rose slowly over the valley, painting the rocks in shades of orange and gold. Mist curled between the cliffs, and the air smelled faintly of smoke and energy from the battles of the past days. Captain Ethan Blake stood at the edge of a ridge, looking at the alien forces below. Selara's warriors were regrouping, and she herself stood in the center, her silver-gold armor reflecting the sunlight. "They are coming," Luke Carter said, holding a small device that displayed the alien formations. "Selara has gathered all her strongest warriors. This will be her final attempt to crush us." Ethan nodded slowly. "Good, let them come. Humans survive against impossible odds because we plan, adapt, and fight together. That is our strength. Today, we finish this." Mia Harper adjusted her portable energy boosters. "Our shields and weapons are ready, Captain. If we strike carefully and use the terrain, we can win this. We just have to stay smart and work together." Ethan looked at his team, pride in his eyes. "Remember, humans survive not by power alone, but by thinking, adapting, and trusting each other. Today, we show Selara what that means." Below them, Selara studied the humans. Her eyes glowed with energy and her sword hummed with power. She had fought them for days, and they had survived every attempt to defeat them. She had expected to crush them quickly, but they had not broken. Instead, they had forced her warriors back, adapted to her attacks, and proved themselves clever and courageous. "They are stronger than I imagined," she said quietly. "Clever, brave, and united, but I am not defeated. Today I will show them the true power of my army." She raised her hand, signaling her warriors to advance. The valley shook slightly as hundreds of alien warriors moved forward, weapons humming with energy. They split into groups, trying to surround the humans and strike from every side. Ethan watched carefully. "They are trying to trap us again. That is fine. Humans fight best when we know our limits and use the terrain. Luke, mark their weak points. Mia, get the energy systems ready. Everyone else, stay alert and move as one unit." The humans spread out, taking positions behind rocks, ridges, and cliffs. They were small in number, but they were coordinated, careful, and determined. Every movement had a purpose, every strike was planned. They were ready to turn the battlefield into one that favored them, not the aliens. The first group of aliens advanced from the east. Ethan signaled Luke. "Now, use the pulse system to block their advance." Luke activated a small energy pulse, creating a temporary barrier that slowed the aliens. The humans struck quickly, targeting weak points and using hit-and-run tactics. The aliens were strong, but they were not expecting humans to fight with such precision and coordination. Solara leaped into the valley, her sword swinging in arcs of energy. Ethan met her strike, blocking it with his weapon. Sparks flew where their swords met, lighting up the misty battlefield. "You are clever," Solara shouted, spinning and striking again. "But cleverness alone cannot win." Ethan moved quickly, dodging and countering. "Humans survive because we fight together, think carefully, and adapt quickly. That is our strength." Small groups of humans moved across the valley, using the terrain to their advantage. Luke fired energy pulses to distract the aliens, while Mia hacked drones to create chaos. The humans moved as one unit, striking quickly and retreating when necessary. Their teamwork was precise, and their strategy began to push the aliens back. Solara watched, frustration and admiration battling inside her. These humans were different. They were small and fragile, but their minds and courage made them dangerous. "They fight with more than strength," she whispered. "They fight with brains and strategy. They are impressive." The aliens tried to advance from the west, hoping to flank the humans. Ethan anticipated it. "Everyone, fall back to the narrow valley. Use the cliffs. Control their movement. Strike when the moment is right." The humans led the aliens into the narrowest part of the valley, where rocks and cliffs limited their movement. Small energy barriers and traps slowed the aliens, while the humans struck at weak points. Warriors stumbled, isolated, and fell. Solara was shocked. She had expected the humans to break, but they had turned the trap against her. Her warriors were being forced back, not by strength alone, but by clever tactics and coordination. "You are dangerous," she admitted, her voice low. "More dangerous than I thought." Ethan pressed the advantage. He led his team in a coordinated strike, hitting the center of Solara's forces with a powerful energy pulse. The aliens faltered and small groups were trapped against the cliffs. Mia shouted, "Captain, we can finish this. Use the cliffs to trap the rest." Ethan nodded. "Do it. Stay together, strike hard, and don't stop." The humans pressed forward. Their movements were coordinated, precise, and relentless. The aliens tried to resist, but the humans' strategy and teamwork were too strong. They pushed the aliens back, forcing them into positions where their numbers were useless. Solara leaped into the center of the battle, swinging her sword with incredible speed. But Ethan had learned her pattern. He dodged each strike, countering when he saw an opening. Slowly, he began to force her back. "You are clever," Solara said, frustration in her voice. "But cleverness will not win," Ethan smiled. "Humans survive because we plan, adapt, and fight together. That is why we are still here. That is why we survive." The battle raged for hours. Dust, mist, and energy pulses filled the valley. The humans used every advantage the terrain offered, hiding behind rocks, leaping from cliffs, and using the mist to confuse the aliens. Each time the aliens thought they had an advantage, the humans shifted, countered, and struck back. Solara's warriors began to fall back. They had expected the humans to run or fight recklessly. Instead, the humans fought with intelligence and coordination. Every move they made seemed to anticipate the aliens' next steps. Solara's pride was wounded, but she could not deny the humans' skill. "They are not like the others," she said quietly. "They are clever, strong, and brave. I must respect them, but I will not let them win." Ethan noticed her hesitation. He knew the battle was turning in their favor, not through power alone, but through strategy and teamwork. "Keep moving," he said to his team. "Stay together. This is our moment." The humans pressed their advantage, forcing the aliens back toward the center of the valley. Small groups were isolated, trapped, or knocked off balance. Solara tried to rally her warriors, but the humans' coordination was too strong. Finally, after hours of fighting, Solara called her warriors back. She landed on a ridge above the valley, her chest rising and falling with exertion. She looked at Ethan directly. "You are different," she said. "I underestimated humans. You are clever, brave, and coordinated. You have survived where others would have fallen, but this is not over. I will return stronger, and next time you will not be so lucky." Ethan looked at her calmly. "We will adapt too. Humans survive by thinking, planning, and standing together. That is why we are still here. That is why we survive." The humans regrouped on a plateau, cleaning their weapons, tending to minor injuries, and checking their energy systems. They were tired, their bodies aching from hours of battle, but their spirits were high. They had survived another day, and they had shown Selara that humans were a force to be reckoned with. Mia smiled. "I can't believe it. We actually did it. We pushed them back not just once, but every time they attacked." Luke shook his head, still amazed. "I've never seen humans fight like this. They are incredible." Ethan looked at the valley below, where Selara and her warriors were regrouping. He knew the battle was finally nearing its end. Selara would have to recognize that humans were not just survivors. They were clever, adaptable, and brave. Selara stood silently on her ridge, staring at the humans below. Pride and respect warred inside her. She had underestimated them, and it had cost her. For the first time, she felt true respect for her enemy. "They are strong, clever, and brave," she whispered. "I cannot defeat them with force alone. Humans, they are extraordinary." As the sun set, both sides withdrew. The humans cleaned their weapons, tended to injuries, and prepared for any future challenges. But there was a sense of triumph among them. They had survived impossible odds, outsmarted a powerful enemy, and proved that courage, intelligence, and teamwork could overcome even the strongest force in the galaxy. Ethan looked at his team, pride shining in his eyes. "We did it. We survived. We showed them that humans never give up, even against impossible odds. Today, we proved that thinking, adapting, and standing together is stronger than brute force. That is what it means to be human." Selara stood on her ridge, watching the humans celebrate. She had never met opponents like this before. They were clever, brave, and adaptable. She had underestimated them, and she would not make that mistake again. The humans had survived. They had shown strength, intelligence, and courage beyond measure. And the alien princess, once confident and proud, had learned the most important lesson of all. Humans were not to be underestimated. The stars shone brightly over the valley, signaling the end of the battle and the beginning of a new understanding. The humans had won, not just through power, but through strategy, courage, and unity. And in doing so, they proved that the human spirit could never be broken.